Butker trying to line this up. Winchester will snap it. Colquitt will hold it. 20-20 tie. High snap, pulled down. Butker's kick is out. It is right down the boulevard. It's good. And the Chiefs take a 23-20 lead with 4 seconds left in regulation. And Harrison Butker kicks some, you know what? Welcome to the Chiefs Kingdom.
How's it going, Chiefs Kingdom? You're listening to the Arrowheads Abroad podcast with myself, Brad Simcox, and the Arrowheads Abroad Supremo himself, Tom Childs. How you doing, Tomo?
I'm doing well.
Yeah?
Long time no speak.
It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a couple of weeks since we last spoke.
This has been like the longest me and you have gone without talking in like 2.5 years.
I know, I felt like I'd done something wrong, that you weren't talking to me.
Well, you did. At one point.
I did, yeah.
You did do something wrong, and I'm sure you're going to explain what in a couple of minutes' time. But no, I'm doing well. All is well in the child's household. I go on holiday next week. I'm going to Spain
very
next
nice.
Saturday for 9 days, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
A breakaway with the family and the in-laws.
Very nice.
Should be good.
Babysitters, that's what you say. That's what you're taking with you, isn't it?
Exactly. I'm one of these weirdos that always get along with parents, so I actually quite like my in-laws, and because right. I sit around the table at lunchtime with the blokes at work, and all of them to a man moan about their in-laws, and I just kind of sit there and like, well, yeah, I actually really get along with mine.
Yeah.
And so instantly I get the label of kiss ass.
Brown noser.
Exactly, but you are right. They are babysitters.
They're just travelling babysitters with you. That's
exactly. Great. If me and Amy want to go out for some tapas whilst we're in Spain, we just give them the kids. And away we go.
Genius, mate. Genius.
Love.
Yeah. It's been a couple of weeks since we last spoke, and we were looking forward to a game, weren't we? A particular game, or two particular games in Europe in soccer.
We were.
And it was your beloved Arsenal versus, who was it? Chelsea. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Who had the first game in the Europa League. And then we had the one after that, which was the Spurs game, wasn't it, against Liverpool? But I kind of upset the apple cart a little bit, didn't I? With our little, I actually took over Arrowheads Abroad Twitter with the result of the Arsenal versus Chelsea game in the final, might I add, where Arsenal lost 4-1. Sorry, mate. Sorry to bring this up again. But what I did was, because I took over the Arrowheads Abroad Twitter page, I got a very interesting voicemail, shall we say, from Mr. Tom Childs.
Before you talk about the voicemail, obviously I haven't heard this since. Well, I've never heard it. You've saved it for this podcast. I to be honest, I forgot that I'd even sent it until a couple of days after. But you took a swipe at me first via the Arrowheads Abroad. For the page that I made up myself, you took a swipe at me and the result of the Arsenal game.
I was concerned about you, Tom.
No, it was a swipe at me. It was cheap. And you used my own platform against me. And so this is why I left this voicemail. And to be honest, I cannot remember what this voicemail says. So if I use any naughty language in it, I apologise. I'll try my hardest to cut it out when editing.
I did put a hashtag Where's Tom, didn't I? When we were doing a hashtag Where's Pat when we were looking for Patrick Peterson. Yeah. Let me just find. I'm gonna have to find this properly now. Hang on, bear with us.
You could have at least had it ready.
It is ready.
Oh God.
Hang on, mate.
You have 2 other new messages. To skip through these messages
I laugh at the first one's like from a doctor or something like that. You have herpes.
There he is.
Hi Brad, I just got back from London, walking home now from the Mother train station, which I think you know very well. I'm fucking miserable. Well, you know I'm fucking miserable because you know what happened tonight. But yeah, you still took the Arrowheads Abroad Twitter account to smite me, and I can't say I'm happy about that. Just because you've got a new owner, you think Newcastle are going to be the next big thing, you thought you'd give me shit over the internet. I thought you were bad at that, Brad. I I thought we were better than the likes of Dave, Owen, and John. But now you're an arsehole. An arsehole that I love. But you're an arsehole. So when I throw myself into a river on the way home after Chelsea beat us 4-1, I want you to feel a little bit guilty. Know that you contributed to that fact. I'm only joking. I'm not going to kill myself. I love you, Brad. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Oh, it's the kisses. It's the kisses at the end.
I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting something a little worse than that. I'm surprisingly sober in that. I wasn't sober at all.
No, you clearly weren't, mate.
My whole journey home from London was basically a group of Arsenal fans who just like a self-help group therapy session to stop ourselves from throwing ourselves in front of a train at the next platform. But yeah, I don't regret that.
I don't regret that. You stand by your statement.
I do stand by it. I was miserable that night. I didn't throw myself in the river, clearly, because I'm here.
Well, at least we found you, mate.
You did. Hashtag found Tom.
So, I did my thing. I was worried about you. Right.
Well, can you imagine how nervous I was for the next 3 days after that with the Champions League final?
Yeah.
And Spurs, and obviously thinking about all of what could happen there. I didn't even watch that game in the end. I went on a complete social media and internet blackout for the Champions League final, and then just found out a result at the end. And I saw that Spurs lost, and all was well with the world once again.
Yeah. So so it's taken you like 2.5 weeks to get over that.
No, yeah,
and that's why we haven't heard from you, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I've been in rehab.
Yeah. So that was the in between. Well, before we got to this show, but we've actually had a lot of news stories that have. Well, we've had some that have actually come out today as well, which we want to go through, and I think we should start with the most recent one.
Yep.
Which is Mitch Schwartz has signed a 1-year extension worth $11.25 million, and it's pretty much all guaranteed as well, which is a brilliant move, isn't it? It's clear that Veach has gone, do you know what, we need you for another year, mate. We're really going to push for this year. That's the signal for me that the Chiefs are in win now mode.
Yes and no. I think it's a signal and a demonstration of how good Mitchell Schwartz actually is. I think the signing of Mitchell Schwartz was so underrated when it happened. He was one of the best offensive linemen in the league when he was with Cleveland. Obviously become a free agent, and the Chiefs were very aggressive about going to get him. And it's probably up there in the top 2 or 3 moves that Dorsey made as a general manager with the Chiefs because of how good a player Mitchell Schwartz is. Obviously, he was under contract for this year, but now the Chiefs have got him through to 2021. So for the next 2 or 3 seasons, they've got Mitchell Schwartz fully locked up, and that'll take him through to when he's 32, and he can still carry on playing after that. He is a premier right tackle.
Definitely.
He's a premier offensive lineman in the league, and the Chiefs needed to keep hold of him. Outside the skill position players on offense, you could argue that he was the most important piece on this offense. So I'm absolutely delighted with the Chiefs getting this done, because there was some talk about him being unhappy with his contract and wanting to extend and add some money to it, and he's got the money that he definitely 100% deserves. So good for him.
And it doesn't affect the cap either, does it?
Not this year directly, because it's an extension on top. It sounds like it might be a couple of million extra, because the Chiefs might have 24 million in cap space now, so they've still got plenty to work with. But in general, it's going to be spread across the 3 years, so it's absolutely fine. It's a hit the Chiefs can take. It's the hit the Chiefs need to take. So yeah, well done to everyone involved. Well done to Mitch. Well done to Brett, and well done to Andy Reid, and just getting this deal done and smashed out during mini camp, and then he can now concentrate on the season ahead. Yeah, great timing, like you said. Great timing.
The other news that we had was there's still this ongoing negotiation between Chris Jones and his representatives and the Chiefs. But he still hasn't turned up for mandatory training, which has kind of put a little bit of an ugliness on this, because, basically Veach has said, come to training and we'll thrash out a deal, basically. So the ball's in your court. So I'm not saying it's getting really ugly, but it had a little bit of a get here now, didn't it? Let's sort this out now, get it in. What's your take on all this? Do you think Chris Jones is right to hold out like this?
Yes,
Yeah,
I do. He's down to earn $1 million or $1.4 million this year, which isn't a lot of money. Well, it is a lot of money, obviously, but it's not a lot of money compared to what he's actually worth in 2019. So I don't blame him for holding out, because if he turns up tomorrow, it could take a few days, a few weeks to get a deal thrashed out, but he might get injured in that time.
Yeah.
It might be during mini camp, or it might be during the first few days of training camp. But if he gets injured, he stands to lose a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, look at Kevin Durant 2 nights ago.
Oh, yeah.
I know it was the NBA Finals, and obviously he felt like he needed to come back. But Kevin Durant just cost him a max salary for an entire season because he rushed back from an injury. He played when he probably shouldn't have, and he tore his Achilles tendon, and that's it. Now he's going to be out of the NBA for the next 12 months. I'm not saying that Chris Jones is a similar sort of story, but there are some similarities in the fact that if Chris Jones did get injured, then he could potentially lose out on a lot of money. So I never blame the player, because the teams don't really care about the players. So why should the players care about the teams when it is their own business? So I don't blame Chris Jones at all for sitting out and waiting to see what he can get. I think what's more interesting is what he's going to get in terms of the money. He's like, some people are saying he deserves an Aaron Donald type deal. I'm not entirely bored with that right now.
That's around 20 million a year, isn't it? That's 20 plus million a year, isn't it? That he's after there. Yeah,
well, Aaron Donald signed a 6-year, $135 million deal.
Really?
With 86 guaranteed.
That's big money, isn't it?
It is, but at the time of signing, Aaron Donald had 38 sacks.
Ah, right, okay.
Chris Jones is currently on 24 sacks in his first 3 seasons. Aaron Donald got 27 in his first 3 seasons. I think the thing to notice here when you're comparing him to other defensive linemen that have recently got paid is that Chris Jones is asking to get paid a hell of a lot earlier than the rest of them. Like Aaron Donald got paid after year 4. Fletcher Cox got paid a little bit early as well. And okay, Chris Jones is producing at that type of level, but is it a contract too soon? Would the Chiefs be better off letting him play out the year and then franchise tagging him and then trying to thrash out a deal there? Yeah. This is where the 5th-year option comes into play. This is where the Chiefs could have done with sitting at 28 or 29 or wherever it was and sitting there and grabbing Chris Jones instead of trading back into the second round, because we could really do with the 5th-year option when it comes to players like Chris Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is a lot of money, and like you said, it is quite early for it. And plus, when you think about it, the Chiefs are clearly going to be gearing up soon for paying Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And possibly Tyreek Hill, which we'll touch on in a minute. So, there's players there that the Chiefs clearly are thinking about paying and keeping them on the books, but then this one's just kind of come out of left field a little bit, hasn't it? A little bit too soon what they were hoping for.
But then the other argument on it is you've got 24 million sitting in cap space, so why not just sign Chris Jones now and front load it?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to give him, say you give him the Fletcher Cox deal, 102 million 6 years, say it's 100 million over 5 years, you can give him a quarter of that deal up front in this 1 year, and then you can spread the payments out over the next few. So there is some manoeuvring to be done to obviously balance out the cap hit a little bit. But then you've got the other question is, where does Chris Jones fit into this defense?
Mm-hmm.
I personally think he can fit into any defense. I think he's that good a player.
Yeah.
Some people are saying, Steve Spagnuolo's never had a player like Chris Jones. He's never needed a player like Chris Jones to have a successful defense. Well, I don't see that myself. I think Chris Jones can be successful in whatever defense he's put into.
He's wrecking ball, isn't he?
He is a wrecking ball. Yeah. He got 15.5 sacks last year, which is ridiculous for an interior defensive lineman.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron Donald is next level, but Aaron Donald is a generational type defensive player, so it's hard to compare Chris Jones to him. But I do stand with Chris Jones. I do think the Chiefs should get a deal and get him in the building and just offer him the $18, $19, $20 million a year deal, and then get him in and get him rolling. And I think those sort of numbers will get it done. I don't think you can go much cheaper than that, but I don't think they need to go up to the level of Aaron Donald either, because I think we know, and I think Chris Jones knows, that he's probably not at that level yet that warrants the big 6-year, $135 million deal. And I think if Chris Jones is asking for that type of money, that is unreasonable. But if he's asking for the Fletcher Cox type money, then yeah, just give him it, get him paid, and get him back in the building.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans are thinking that it's a bit unusual to see Chris Jones like this, because he's normally happy-go-lucky. He's always like, that kind of personality of the team, isn't he? And to see him holding out like this, I think it's taken a few people a bit by surprise, basically. But yeah, I agree with you. I think.
Yeah, but you've got to remember, it's a business.
It is, yeah.
It's a business. This is their livelihood they're talking about. Chris Jones obviously feels that his play warrants him getting paid a year earlier than he has
Stats back that up.
And yeah, his play last year does back it up. So I can't blame him for not wanting to stick around and be on $1.4 million next year. He's going to be earning 3 times less than Xavier Williams will be next year.
Yeah.
So how is that fair? Chris Jones has produced. He is going to produce. So pay him. I know we've had a habit of giving bad contracts out to defensive linemen and defensive ends before, but he is young. He stayed relatively injury free, and I think he was the biggest bright spark on the defense last year.
Yeah.
And so I stand with Chris Jones. It's a business at the end of the day. He's got to look after himself. Pay the man what he deserves.
Pay the man. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, get him in.
Exactly. Okay, then we touched on him briefly. The huge news, the big news that we've all been waiting for. It's something that we've been putting off for quite some time to actually. Well, I know you have, Tom. I haven't. I've been a bit vocal on YouTube. But there was a time where I kind of thought, I did my last video and I thought, do you know what? I just need to sit back and just let this whole thing play out now, because there was so many different things coming out. There was drip feeding from the media and all that. Tyreek Hill. Basically the social media exploded since the latest news was released that neither Tyreek nor Crystal have broken their son's arm, which is great news. It's great news in some respect that it wasn't either of them that's done it. It sounds like it was just an accident, where the kid's fallen over or something, where he's been playing with his friends or something. But this is where it gets a little bit sticky, because according to some reports, when the accident happened, Crystal actually called a third party to ask them to report that Tyreek Hill had done this. Now, this is something that I really don't get, and I really hope it's not true. I really hope that this kind of this part of the story isn't correct, but it sounds like that's what's actually happened in the end, because we got the audio recording and everything after that, didn't we, where Crystal was trying to pin it on Tyreek. Then we got them text messages that came out about Tyreek and Crystal having this very strange text message chat about who was actually to blame for it. But I mean, I suppose the big thing about this is Tyreek and Crystal have been found to not have broken their son's arm on purpose, which is great news. But social media has erupted, hasn't it, on all of this, mate? It really has. I mean, there's so many people now are actually throwing stuff back in the face of some of the media people that have actually reported this initially. It's got a little bit nasty. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think this whole episode has brought out the worst in Chiefs fans. Yeah. Myself. I think some people probably were a little bit too quick to jump to conclusions based on initial reports, but I think at the same time they could have been seen as fair based on what they were hearing at the time. I think some people were blinkered and had rose-tinted glasses on and refused to believe that anything bad could happen despite Tyreek Hill's previous.
They've been proven to be right though, haven't they?
Well, at the moment, but we've had so many twists and turns in this case that do we really know what was right and what was wrong? Because the amount of reports regarding this and the amount of conflict in reports regarding this is we don't know who is speaking the truth and who isn't. I don't think we'll ever truly find out what happened to that little boy's arm. But the fact of the matter remains that Tyreek Hill is still on audio. Whether she was meant to get that audio, whether she should have got that audio, that doesn't matter. But he still says on that audio something that I find deeply disturbing and something that will lead to him getting punished by the league.
Yeah.
Because this episode is not over. They've obviously still got their case with the Kansas Children Department about who's going to have custody of Tyreek and whether they get to keep them themselves or whether he will have it or she will have him. But the NFL are not done with Tyreek Hill in any way, shape or form. And I do believe he will get suspended. The suspension he gets handed out, I do not know what it will be, because if you look at Jimmy Smith was suspended for 4 games for something quite similar in regards to the audio tape where he made threatening behaviour, and the NFL obviously don't like that. But then you've got someone like Adrian Peterson who was suspended a year for belting his son, and belting is obviously something that got brought up on the audio between Tyreek Hill and Crystal. So I do think this suspension could span from anywhere between 4 to 16 games. Don't ask me to pick a number because I don't honestly know, but I still wouldn't be surprised if we have seen the last of Tyreek Hill in a Chiefs jersey.
Really? Do you think it's got to that point? Do you think?
I do. I think there's been. Remember, he's a free agent next year. Mm-hmm. So if the Chiefs do want to re-sign him, they're going to have to be very careful about the type of money they're going to give to him as well. Yeah. Because there's still going to be a lot of people that are going to see this audio or hear this audio and have their opinions made on him, regardless of whether he broke his kid's arm or not. He still says some horrible, horrible things on that audio. Mm-hmm. And I do think the Chiefs will have a decision to make next January, February, and hopefully February. Hopefully the Chiefs are still involved in football in January. But next February, about whether they want to re-sign him, and if they do want to re-sign him, whether they can agree a figure. Because obviously Tyreek Hill knows that he's a very talented footballer, so he might still be asking for money. If he's clear to play, he might still ask for the big contract that he thinks he was due based on his play in 2018, 2017 and 2016. Mm-hmm. But the Chiefs might look at it and say, well, actually, you were suspended for last year. You've caused us one hell of a headache. Why should we give you the contract that you feel you deserve? So I still wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill manage to lock heads and don't manage to thrash out a deal. That is if the Chiefs even want Tyreek Hill on the roster this year, after next year.
It's interesting how the Chiefs have handled this, isn't it? Because obviously we had the Kareem Hunt saga that happened, but they pretty much cut him straight away, didn't they, because of the lies that were told. But this seems very different because even when after all that audio came out and everything, the Chiefs still kind of said, no, we're not gonna get involved in this. We're just gonna step back and let it run its course. So, but they must have realised that there was some untruths in all of that to actually go, do you know what, we're not kicking him off the team yet. Do you think they had some kind of information or belief that Tyreek was telling the truth through all of this?
I don't know. I don't think we'll ever know the answer to that question.
It just seems odd how they've handled it, though, doesn't it? How the Chiefs have...
I just feel like the Chiefs got burnt so badly when it comes to Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
And if you look at the latest reports of Kareem Hunt, the media are all loving him. He's doing great work in the community and whatnot. And you wouldn't even realise if you didn't know that Kareem Hunt was involved in something like he was back in December, literally 6-7 months ago, by the way that they're reporting on him. So I feel like the Chiefs realised that they got burnt massively with Kareem Hunt. Yeah. He got a new job. The Browns got a great player.
And everyone's forgot about it.
And then she's got left empty-handed. And 6-7 months later, everyone's forgot about it. Week 9, Kareem Hunt will come back to the Browns, and that'll be it. He can carry on his career. I think that's the main reason why the Chiefs stuck by Tyreek Hill. You might be right. They might have had more information on it. They might be willing to sit here and stand by Tyreek Hill. But I think the more likely scenario is that they saw what happened with Kareem Hunt and they thought, to balls are they getting burnt again in a similar situation with someone as elite like Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we'll have to see how it all plays out, because I think we're all expecting more twists and turns as this the training camps go on and everything, because it has been flip flopping, I suppose, in a way that 1 minute it's all he's abusing children, his child, and then the next he's not. Then it's flipping over to Crystal, and then is it going to come back again? Who knows? It could get nasty before we actually get to the start of the season. So
exactly, and look at you just mentioned it, the amount of different parts of this story that have come out over the last few months, and they've been dripped out to us as well. Go back to the draft. The audio come out the day before the draft, the day after, or the day of day one rather, the day after the Chiefs go out and draft Mecole Hardman, and everyone thought that's it, his career is done with the Chiefs. That he's going to release him that weekend. Here we are, 2 months later, he's still on the roster. So no one really knows what's going to go on. I'll be interested to see if they do allow him to return to training camp. But I think that's going to come down to the NFL, whether they're going to allow him to come back and train before his suspension, depending on how long it is. I'm not too sure on that one.
Yeah, like I said, there's still something going on in the background, so we'll probably leave it at that for now, I would say. Right, let's talk briefly about the other teams in the AFC West, our closest rivals. I thought we'd talk about what we think about these teams, the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos going into 2019. So we're going to start off with the team that's hit the headlines today. I think it was, wasn't it? The Raiders.
The punchline to our show.
They're going to be starring on Hard Knocks.
They are.
I'm so excited about this.
I just can't wait to sit and watch John Gruden try to figure out Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs for 5 weeks running.
Yeah, it'll just be him, just 5 weeks, just scratching his head over a playbook going, wow, how do we sort this out?
LaMarcus Joyner, you were meant to come in and stop Pat Mahomes from burning us downfield with Byron Pringle and Garrett Dieter. But no, you still couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny one. Obviously, we're going to move on to the Chargers and the Broncos in the next few weeks. We'll get round to covering them. So today's mainly about the Raiders. But the Raiders are an interesting one. They really are. I don't really know where I stand on the Raiders in 2019, because part of me wants to say, oh, John Gruden's been a car crash. Derek Carr's rubbish.
Antonio Brown's finished.
Vontae's perfect. Is going to be a moron, going to kill people. And most of those things might be true. But at the same time, it wouldn't surprise me if they all comes together and they are at least saucy.
Oh, come on.
I'm not sitting here saying that they're going to be a playoff team or even get near 500, but I just don't think they're going to be the car crash that everyone's expecting them to be. Like, many people are sitting here when predicting the AFC West, like, all the media obviously put in Chargers number one, but they're dickheads. But really, it's Chiefs number one, Chargers number two, Broncos 3, then Raiders 4 at the bottom. Yeah. And I'm not entirely convinced that's the way that this division is going to play out.
Oh, I am.
I'm not. I actually think that the Chiefs are going to run away with this division.
Yeah.
And I think the other three are going to be a lot more even than people think.
I think they'll take points off each other.
Yeah, I think they're going to... I'm just looking at the Raiders and what they've done this off-season. Obviously, they got Antonio Brown, who might be the biggest knobhead in football. But he's also an elite wide receiver. And we haven't really seen Derek Carr with an elite wide receiver. Apparently, Derek Carr played quite well last year. If you follow what the Raiders people say and all of their blogs, like their SB Nation site and everything, apparently Derek Carr played quite well. I didn't see enough of him to make a judgment. I saw, obviously, the 2 games that we played against Derek Carr, and then obviously I watched the Raiders live at Wembley, where he just got torn to pieces by Frank Clark.
Yeah, exactly.
But he hasn't had anyone to throw to, and apparently there was a lot of drops last year.
Yeah.
So I think Antonio Brown will make a big difference to the Raiders' offense. Obviously, they've got Josh Jacobs, the running back they've just drafted as well. Marshawn Lynch is obviously gone now. So they've gone younger in terms of the backfield, and then they've gone for elite experience at wide receiver. So I think the offense is going to be much improved from the Raiders. I do.
Even though they got the biggest knobhead in football.
Antonio Brown, John Gruden, help me out here.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, I'm trying to figure out who you're pointing at there, because they've got Richie Incognito as well, who's apparently threatened to shoot up a funeral home or something like that, because he wanted to sever his dad's head or something.
Yeah,
it's just a whole concoction of crazy.
You think you're not with me at all on this?
I'm not with you on that. There's so many so much craziness in that team that as soon as one of the wheels falls off, that's it. It's all going to fall apart.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I feel it's going to be. Antonio Brown will probably have a bad couple of games. Then he won't be happy that Derek Carr's not throwing to him or something. Or it just has too much crazy in it.
So you think Antonio Brown in California is a bad idea then?
Well, yeah, because you've got Burfict now. Who them two didn't Antonio Brown get laid out by Burfict or something in a game?
Yeah.
There's gonna be some beef there.
Because Burfict's even on the team come day one, because he is not the player he used to be. He used to be, obviously he's always been a mercenary, but he's in his early career he was actually a semi-decent linebacker as well. Obviously his play's deteriorated the last couple of years, hence why the Bengals were willing to part ways with him. But he might not even make the roster. But I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking the Raiders could possibly get to 6 or 7 wins, maybe 8 at a push. Like, don't get me wrong, if they're gonna get there, they're gonna earn it, because their first few games are hard.
Yeah,
like really hard. They opened the season at home to the Broncos, which is probably the easiest game of their first few. But then they've got the Chiefs visiting Oakland for the last time. Then they're visiting the Vikings, then the Colts, then they're hosting the Bears, then they're visiting the Packers, then visiting the Texans.
Instantly, straight away. You can just see those first few games, the wheel's going to drop off somebody. Somebody's going to go nuts. And then that's it. It'll ripple right the way through the team, and that'll be it. The Raiders will be done after week 4.
Yeah, I can see a situation where that happens, because obviously they are going to need to win 2 or 3 of their first 7. I'm struggling here to sit here and point out 2 wins in that 7 based on what we know right now. But stranger things have happened. Like the Chiefs lost to the Raiders when they were 0-13 a few years ago.
Yeah,
the Chiefs lost to the Raiders a couple of years ago on the game that we thought would never end. So it has happened. We have struggled in Oakland in the past. Even last year, we could not put them to bed properly until Pat Mahomes literally decided to shut up shop in the last quarter. But we allowed them to stay in games. It's never really a blowout when we visit Oakland. So I would not be surprised if this Chiefs managed to lose to Oakland in the very last game that the Chiefs are going to visit the Coliseum.
Oh, Tom, no. Don't be saying that.
Obviously
the defense is so different now, though.
It is, but surely it's got to be better. It's like us. We've just completely revamped our defense, and we all automatically assume that that's going to mean a better defense. Like, they drafted relatively well. Okay, there was a bit of a reach in Clayton Ferrell. People are saying that they could have got him with their second pick of the first round, but they obviously identified a guy that they like, and I like Mike Mayock. I always thought he talked a lot of sense, so maybe he
talked a lot of sense when he threw out his scouts out of the war room in the draft.
But I like that.
You like that?
I like that. I like the fact that he was trying to find the mole in the room. Some people are probably sitting there saying, no, it's not a good thing. You should trust your organisation. No.
Try and find the mole by firing everybody.
Find the rats. Like Varys and his little children, his little spies that he had, his little birdies around everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just Mike Mayock is Varys. Trying to find out who. But then obviously they took Jonathan Abram, the safety. They took Trayvon Mullen, a corner that we both talked about in the draft preview. They took Isaiah Johnson, another corner that's very quick out of Houston. Yeah. So they took a lot of defensive players in this draft, and obviously went there with free agency a little bit. So they are going to be completely different on defense. So I come back to I think Gruden's an okay coach. I think he come in and seemed a bit mental to begin with, but the man's won a Super Bowl. We all loved him when he was on Monday Night Football. We all sat here and drooled over everything he said about Patrick Mahomes during the draft process a couple of years ago. We all thought Gruden was the best thing since sliced bread when he was bigging up Pat Mahomes and saying he was the best quarterback of that class. So we all, to a point, respect what that man's got to say, and we respect his opinion on football. And because he's won the Super Bowl, he's been there and done that. I do think that he has something to offer the Raiders, and I'm not going to sit here and say the Raiders are going to be a car crash whilst they've got John Gruden, they've got a Derek Carr that they seem to like. They've improved every single part of that team. So what did they win last year? 4 or 5 games? I think they can quite easily beat that total and possibly battle out the Chargers for second place in the division. I know you people are probably thinking Tom's gone fucking crazy.
He's still drunk from that 2-week jaunt he had.
Yeah, the main reason is that I'm not as high on the Chargers as everyone else is.
Well, you know what my thoughts on that.
Yeah. We'll come to the Chargers in a couple of weeks' time, but I think the Chargers are probably closer to the Raiders level than they are the Chiefs this year going forward. I think the Chiefs are going to be by far and away the best team in the AFC.
I think they'll run away with this year.
Yeah, and the Chargers aren't going to. Phillip Rivers is going to. His arm's going to die eventually.
It's going to die.
It is going to die. So call me crazy all you want, but I have the Raiders closest to the Chargers right now.
One thing's for sure, Gruden is going to be entertaining on the Hard Knocks, isn't he?
Oh God, yeah.
It's going to be so much fun watching him.
Yeah, I
screaming and shouting.
I watched a 20-minute video earlier of it. It was just pure John Gruden mic'd up.
Was that when he was at the
Bucks and the Raiders?
The Bucks,
the Raiders the first time. Pure entertainment. I like the guy. I'm not gonna lie. I like him, and I think they're going to be good value for money. I think when it comes to Hard Knocks.
He was actually on our plane back from Kansas City to Charlotte as well, wasn't he?
Was he really?
Do you not know that?
No, I was probably too scared, like holding onto my seat, worrying if the plane was going to crash.
Yeah, because he was was he commentating or something like that on Monday Night Football?
Would have been Monday Night Football.
He was on the front of our plane, and we were just like walking past him, going, "You all right? He was acting cool, you know."
Really?
Oh yeah.
I did not know that.
Did you not see him?
No, I wouldn't have got up because I don't get up on planes.
It's too high up for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
He was on there, but he was all right. Yeah, he said hi back to us all, so that was all right.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to, when you said commentating, I thought you said he started commentating on your walk down the plane. This is Brad running the seam route around the right aisle of the plane.
That'd have been so good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That would have been so good.
You turn around going, what's a seam route?
Yeah, just looking back at it, yeah. Oh, man. Right, okay. Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about did you say we're going to talk about the Chargers next time?
No, we'll do the Broncos next time.
Broncos next time.
We'll work in reverse order, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do that.
Well, the next show actually is going to be the next Blast of the Past. Back to the Chiefs.
So we won't mention the Broncos or Chargers in that one, will we?
No. So on the next episode of Back to the Chiefs, we're going all the way back to November 1st, 2015, when the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs visited London. And whilst that was going on, the Kansas City Royals were also about to play Game 5 of the World Series.
Yeah. So we're going to be acting like we were actually in that year, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like we've done with the previous ones.
And we're hoping, now we're mentioning it, he has to come on, where we're hoping to have Kent Swanson from Arrowhead Pride on the show with us this time, because we know that he's a huge Chiefs and Royals fan. So we're thinking about Seth or Ryan, but it turns out that neither of them two actually like the Royals that much, so it doesn't really make much sense. So we went to the Arrowhead Pride guys instead, and Kent was apparently the biggest Royals fan.
It might just be the Kent Swanson show, mightn't it?
Yeah, probably, because I know jack shit about baseball.
Yeah, it might just be the Kent Swanson show. It's where he's just reliving and just living in that moment of 2015. Yeah. So, that's something to look forward to. So that's going to be early next week, isn't it, when we're going to be recording that. So looking forward to it. Actually, I better start watching the game back. I've watched it a few times, I must admit, because we were there, weren't we, mate?
I've probably watched that game about 10 times. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, it's the baseball game. It's the baseball game that I'm going to have to sit through and watch, which is going to be more interesting. Even though I actually did watch that game live. I watched it live. I stayed up and watched it. So,
Didn't you stay in one of the bars to watch it with the Wales fans?
I did. So I'll talk about that on the next show. But this weekend is me watching the Chiefs at Lions at Wembley again, and then the Royals versus the Mets in Game 5 of the World Series.
There's worse weekends, mate, isn't there?
There is. There'll be plenty of beer.
Plenty of beer. All right, then. Well, those are our thoughts on the Arrowheads Abroad podcast. Let us know your thoughts by heading over to the Arrowheads Abroad Facebook page and Twitter page, which is @KCChiefs_UK. So from one kingdom to another, we'll speak to you again soon.